we are connected by that one feeling. While thy branches mix with mine, and our roots together join.
So, last time we talked, we ended the conversation with Vergil falls down into the underworld and Mundus takes over him, but he resisted for a long time. And when he see him again, that's the start of Devil May Cry 5. We don't know what happened to him after, like, in DMC1, he fights Dante as Nilo Angelo because Mundus controls him, like, completely took over his mind, even if he's trying to resist. But Dante fights him and wins, and also, like, he beats Mundus and he seals him away, and Mundus is still alive, but when Mundus is like being defeated, he's like, I'm gonna be back. That's what he's like threatening with. So we don't know if he ever gonna return or got sealed away for sure. Then time passes when 4 happens or something, and we don't know what happens to Vergil during that time, but when we see him again, then he's like, his body is falling apart, and he's walking on the streets with like a cloak on him, and he's like tracking down the Yamato. I guess he's like sensing where it is, and that's how he finds Nero, because the Yamato, his sword, is like being sort of sealed away in Nero's arm. So he like, that's how he finds it. Like, it's still inside his arm, kind of like sealed away in his demonic arm. And the question is like, why is Vergil's body is like falling apart? And there is no, we don't get an answer for that, but I think that's because that's the state that Mundus put him in. Like, he kind of tortured and destroyed his body so much that he was being put in that state. And the reason why he can still stand on his feet is because like Mundus gave him like some sort of just enough energy so he can like go and fight as Nilo Angelo. And as Mundus got defeated, then that power is like being taken away from him. So all along that time as Nilo Angelo, he was like kind of dragged like a marionette, kind of. And as Mundus is gone now, his power is kind of, that was the only thing that kind of kept him together. And then he finds Nero in Fortuna, and he immediately just cuts his arm off and transform his arm back to the Yamato. And the first thing he does is like teleports away and goes back to his destroyed family home, and that's where he somehow figures, he knows that if he stabs himself, then he wants to like get rid of his human side, because he thinks that's what keeps him weak, and he's not fully aware of the consequences, I guess. That he's gonna turn into like Urizen, the demon, and his human side is gonna like completely become alive, and he loses himself in that process. And Yeah, like him being split into V and Urizen is like the most brilliant way to bring back his character. I feel like it's the best way to turning him from a villain into a protagonist, because he's not as evil as Arkham. He's not completely lost. He, even in the beginning of Devil May Cry 3, like Arkham walks up to him and points out that he got sort of seduced by evil, and that's why he does the horrible things he trying to do in DMC3, because he's just so seduced by the idea of getting his power back. But first, I want to talk about V and Urizen. So like this is Urizen. This is what he turns into. Like he's a demon form that he's completely lacks emotions and any empathy, and he only wants power. Like even the way he talks is like he talks like a robot, like just completely lacks any human emotions and just complete full demon.
You will regret being born useless and human. I will show you your worst nightmares. I will give you despair and death.
Yeah.
And then you get V, his human side, who is full of emotions and completely lacks the demon side. I mean, he also, when he stabs himself, he's not only discarding and giving birth to V, but also to Griffon, Shadow, and Nightmare, who are also his kind of. They are
aspect of his personality.
No, they are sort of bad memories, like the traumatic memories from when he was Michelangelo. Because in Devil May Cry, the first Devil May Cry, they also belong to Mundus as his demons, and they. For example, you fight Griffon, a boss named Griffon, who was sent by Mundus, like this bird appearing as a giant bird, and his attacks are the same as you get here, and the Shadow is also a feline enemy in the first game, and Nightmare is actually a bioweapon in the first game. So these are all actually like bosses and enemies from the first game who fights together with Michelangelo. So they are kind of nightmares and negative emotions that are still connecting him to Mundus, and he tries to discard these all these sort of nightmares, literally, that are still haunting him. And it's not really clear, but he also discards the poem book, because he doesn't carry a William Blake poem book, but it's a book from his childhood that he loved to read, the book with the V symbol on it, and this contains William Blake poems that the V picks up and he starts to read it.
To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour.
And that's part of his gameplay, to read the William Blake poems, and that's how he is charging his demonic energy.
William Blake poems charges demonic energy.
Yeah, literally, like literally hold a button to read William Blake poems, and he's like reading two
joy and mirth
two
go
quotes
without the help of
from him.
anything on earth.
One is to see the world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wild flower.
And yeah.
And the other is the angel that presided over my birth said little creature was born from joy and mirth. Go love without the help of anything on earth. And this is a Carpe Diem poem about who he was, about what it means to be alive. The earth, for all its dirt and toil and hardship, has a lot of wonder, beauty and excitement to present, and that's what we should look upon it as much as we can with the eyes of a child to see it.
Mhm.
And the conclusion is that it's hard for him to see any happiness in the world, and he's like, this is one thing I can relate to as well, to find happiness in the simple and small things, and the way to see it is by slowing down. That's what the infinity refers to, like hold infinity in the palm of your hand. It's like imagine as time slows down around you for a moment, and stop stressing and just try to think you have infinite time in the world, like a child would have, and then you begin to notice and enjoy the beauty in the simple things. And that's ironically what V doesn't have. He's constantly running out of time, because it's only his demonic energy that he has left is what holds him together, and his body begins to fall apart eventually. Although in the Visions of V manga, there are some moments when he takes a break and sits down and contemplates on things, reflect on himself, kind of.
Mhm.
I mean, I can also mention that to understand where Vergil is coming from, he is kind of quote-unquote motivated by fear and the trauma he experienced as a child, and he was all alone, and we don't know how he managed to grow up, and therefore from that point he only wants to gain more physical strength, and it only ends up committing various kind of self-destructive actions, like he's cutting his hand to sacrifice blood and open the portal to the demon world, and he casts himself off into the underworld from a cliff, and he's like committing seppuku. Like he feels like he has nothing to live for. And
Which game is this?
Devil May Cry 3
Gotcha.
and 5.
Gotcha.
And people say, I saw some people say that he wants to protect his family and others. I mean, true, he's protective towards Dante, but he mostly wants to protect himself, and he's not thinking about using part of his power to protect others. And there is a proof for this selfishness when you see him as V, even, because you can see V ignoring and even stopping Nero from helping the humans that are getting impaled by the Clyfoot roots, and he's not giving them any care. And it's even hard to bring himself to help out a little kid in the manga, so it's something that he also needs to get over. And then so he splits himself into two halves. The demon half is Urizen, and it all embodies a physical strength. Like Urizen is big and strong, like that's what he desires to be. And he sees V is the humanity, and as he sees humans as weak, then V appears as this weak, like kind of hunched over, like not any physical strength. Appears as a weak, small human who is like hunched over and stuff like that. But because that's how he sees humans, and that's why he manifests like that. And as Urizen and V are born, they don't have a name. It's V who comes up with the name of V because he wants to. It's a fake name, so Dante doesn't recognize him, of course. So he just names himself like that,
Right.
and he gives Urizen the name to name him as Urizen instead of Vergil. And it's kind of hard to understand V mentally because he's a complete new person, but at the same time he has Vergil's memories and kind of identifies as him, like saying that he regrets the actions he committed and things like that. It's kind of hard to imagine because he's definitely not literally Vergil, but he has his memories, and
Yeah.
he's a new person with a different personality, basically, and he's full of emotions, and he's capable of dancing and laughing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like sometimes he refers to Vergil as a third person as well. Like sometimes he talks as Vergil's actions in first person, but sometimes in third person, like him. As
Yeah.
well.
It's him trying to come to terms with his actual self, but constantly suppressing that, so he's going to shift between the two.
I've committed.
Yeah.
I've realized how important everything was. Everything I've thrown away.
So Vergil splits into body and soul, which is a theme I brought up before. Like Urizen is the body, and Urizen goes on to heal in body. Like he's sucking up all these. He's planning on eating the Clifots fruit that feeds on human blood, that grows on the Clifot tree, so becomes very powerful. While V is the soul, and he's dying without Urizen, his body. And he goes on to heal in soul. Like it's a.
Can I ask a question? Is there something in Devil May Cry 5 that specifically says that V is the soul? Or are you just inferring that?
I'm just referring to him because.
Okay.
Because
Like,
I was going to say, would it maybe be more accurate to refer to V as either the mind or the spirit? Because when it comes to like esoteric beliefs, the belief is that a single soul is created when mind and body are united. So because Vergil cleaved his soul in half, that separates it into mind and body. V is more mind and less body, hence the weaker frame, but the higher emphasis on things that revolve around intelligence, like reading and poetry and stuff like that. Whereas Urizen, represents body and strength more obviously. So by combining those two back together, you get the original soul, which was Vergil. Does that make sense?
Oh, so you say V is more like the mentality, mind, and Vergil is the combination of mind and soul, mind and body, and the greater soul.
Correct.
Yeah, that's. Maybe we should refer to him as the mind.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying because the games, what you've told me about, they do reference a lot of hermetic concepts, like the Qliphotth, like the Philosopher's Stone, and other stuff.
And in the game, during the boss fights, there is a lot of emphasis on V realizing that his real strength lies in his mind and intelligence. Like during the first boss, he and Griffon are mocking the boss who is being very stupid, and and then on the next fight, the boss mocks them for being weak, powerless creatures.
One thought fills immensity.
It's not the time of poetry! Wait, what does that even mean?
Where there's a will, there's a way. Now let's go.
Oh, that's what he says. One thought feels immensity. And Griffon asks, what does it mean? And when he says, where there is a will, there is a way. And he goes on to command his demons to fight. And he's like, his gameplay is like orchestrating a fight. Like he's also has a taunt where he's like orchestrating music. So
Yeah.
that's when he literally realizes that even though he's weak in body, his mind is the biggest strength, and he can use his mind and intelligence to fight back. And even his gameplay is very unique. It makes like you control.
Everybody else, yeah, you're kind of standing at the back, kind of like mage type gameplay, but not really.
Yeah, it's very unique. So you control two or three, like himself as well. You need to dodge with V, the incoming attacks, when you see an enemy getting close to you or an incoming attack, and as well as a command and attack with the Shadow and Griffon. And Shadow being the physical strength, he's like have a color of red, and Griffon is the mind. He's blue and he can talk because he's an intelligent bird essentially, and he's shooting. And it requires you a lot of spatial awareness and just to a lot of concentration and being aware of everything that happens in the fight around you, and not just you can't just attack. You need to like pay attention to everything. So even his gameplay is like based on this mind games and stuff. And the reason why he can't like what his gameplay is that Shadow and Griffon you need to attack the enemies until they are weakened enough so he can finish them off with his cane, because those are not physical beings, Griffon and Shadow, but they're like sort of dreams of some sort. They exist in a different plane, so they cannot kill the enemies. They can only weaken them and cannot kill them physically. And Nightmare, I said even Shadow and Griffon has a color codes, like Shadow being red, Griffon is blue, and then you also get Nightmare, which appears as a human-shaped giant golem, and you...
A giant what, sorry?
Golem.
Oh, golem. Okay. I thought you said colon.
And you can only summon him when you charge enough devil trigger, like a demonic power, to summon him for a short time. And Nightmare's color is purple. Yeah, Nightmare's color is purple, which is a combination of red and blue. And I put a little side note that these creatures are kind of remind me of, strangely enough, Bayonetta, which is actually a pretty similar game in many ways. Because Bayonetta can also turn into a black jaguar and a crow, which is very similar to V's jaguar and crow. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she's also relatively human, like capable of summoning, and she's capable of summoning demons. But while Bayonetta manifesting them through her hair, these demons are tied to his tattoos and also hair color. So there is kind of a similarity.
I wonder why that is. Like, what if that's inspired by something? Because if she does a crow and a jaguar as well, it's got to be based off of something, right?
Not sure.
Good question, though.
And as we look at V's looks, he's fully dressed in black, which is like the look of a modern day artist or a musician. Like, so he's very creative and talented. That's what it symbolizes. But also darkness can refer to demons, of course. And it's so interesting to me that he has a cane, because as you play Devil May Cry 3 and with all these cool weapons, and as Vergil with his Yamato, you would never think it will ever happen that you will play as a character who has a literal cane as his weapon. And it's so symbolic, because it symbolizes his weakness, kind of like a cane that he can lean onto, but it's also a symbol of class. Like, even in Victorian era, like doctors and classy persons were carrying a cane around just to show off their class, kind of. And he turns it into a weapon. It's like an antique cane he found in a random antique shop. So it could have some sort of a demonic energy, and he uses it to finish off enemies, and he also uses it as a tool to like play imaginary violin on and conduct orchestra and to command his demons. So it's really like a multi-tool of some sort.
He's doing what he can with what he's got.
Yeah. Yeah, so his demons are only memories and metaphysical manifestation. They can harm the enemies, but they cannot kill them. So he's dealing the final blow. And he actually has like finishing moves, like some of them looks a bit sadistic, kind of. Yeah, spatial awareness during the fight. And you need to dodge the attack, so it's a lot of multitaskings. And it makes you have to keep your cool and makes you feel, but at the same time it makes you feel powerful, and as you like orchestrating the demons and things like that. And the poem reading is it's tied to charging his demonic energy, as I said. Like, he's not chanting some magic spell, he's literally just reading William Blake poems.
Hey man, his poems are pretty good. Like some of the best written in the English language.
Like, it's like by reading William Blake, he's charging some sort of humanity energy or something, like mind energy. Like he's connecting to this side of the strength of humanity.
Unfortunately, our souls are at odds, brother. I need more power.
And there is something that is a bit hard to explain, but the fact that he's hanging out with Shadow and Griffon, who are animals, I believe animals have also a symbolic meaning and something that helps him to come over his weakness and come in terms with himself, because animals means survival, and you can explain a lot of stuff just by looking at animals. And he's hanging out with them, and he's also in the manga, he's like, for the first time he's very hungry and he needs to eat something, and what he does is he can't find food, so he literally starts eating raw demon meat in the manga.
As you do.
Yeah. So he's fighting for survival and like being an animal. And that can also help him to realize that you don't need to be strong physically to survive, because so Vergil needs to learn how to, like, during his journey as he finds a lot of things to help him get over this obsession with power, and contemplating on animals can help with that, because like in nature animals doesn't have to be big and strong to survive. Like a mice or a lizard are small and weak compared to other animals, but they have their unique abilities to survive. Like they are very fast and they can hide in small places, and that's also what kind of Vergil does by being very, very fast. Even as the way he fights, and that can also help him to overcome this and realize that he should really stop seeking physical strength, because he can find other ways. Like and then he could start thinking about then, if a mice or a lizard survives like that, then how humans survive who are not as strong as a lion. And well, you can come to the conclusion that the strength in humans lies in their intelligence, and that's how they survive. They can make tools and weapons and spears to fight back. So these capabilities can make up for the lack of physical strength.
Yeah. But combined together, they can do all sorts of incomprehensible things.
Yeah, so Vergil's thoughts about humans, that he always thought they are weak and pathetic, but now he's experiencing being as one, and then he realizes that he doesn't feeling pathetic at all. It's quite the opposite. He's laughing and dancing and playing on imaginary violin. He likes reading poem books and quoting William Blake.
Me laugh.
The lesson that he's taking seems to be that even in being weak, there's a strength that comes with enduring the consequences of being weak that you don't get necessarily when you're strong. If you're weak and you can contend with a lot of difficult stuff, there's a strength to that the most powerful do not have. Necessarily.
Yeah, because most importantly, he doesn't give up. He keeps pushing on. Even his body starts crumbling. So he realizes his strength was in his mind and willpower all along, and he doesn't need to continue chasing physical power. Like in the game, after boss fights, he still like tries to chase after the bosses and stuff. Even he's like falling and trembling, and even when his body is falling apart, he keeps trying, pushing on. And the other important thing that Vergil experiences as V is the feeling of being protected. Like it's one way of dealing with his childhood trauma, because then he needed his mother to come and protect him and save him. And that's what he realizes, that it's not that he needs to experience to protect others, it's the opposite. He wants someone to protect him. And that's what he experiences in the game when for example, a boss approaches him, and then Nero comes to the rescue and fights back at the boss, and then helps and carries V. Or when Trish grabs his arm when he's like almost falling down to a cliff, that's also when he realizes and learns what it feels like to be cared for and protected. That emptiness in his heart is being like fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really ingenious way of trying to rehabilitate a villain. I don't think anything of the sort has really been attempted in fiction.
Yeah, I love it. It's so brilliant. And it's said that this, like, the Visions of V manga is like very artistically and nicely written and illustrated. And there is a moment, for example, when V finds a kid in a grocery store and his mom is like being crushed under shelves, and he's like begging V to help him, and V says that he needs to protect himself and doesn't want to, but then the kid asks, is it so wrong and to ask for help? And then V gets a flashback that he also, as a kid, he was like begging for anyone to help him. So some sort of empathy rises inside him that he understands how this kid feels, and that's when he snaps his finger and summons Nightmare and helps the kid.
The truth is, I wanted to be protected and loved, but I was alone. My only choice was to survive.
So yeah, and when Nero saves him, he's not only learns how it feels like to be protected, but also learns that there is no shame in asking for help and leaning on to others. And one of my favorite cutscenes in the game, that you never really hear anyone confessing that they wanted to be protected and loved, because in that cutscene after Nero saves him and starts carrying V, he realizes that he wanted to be protected and loved, and he literally says it out loudly as he fully understands his Vergil side. And it's not an easy thing to just express to someone, and being able and being able to reflect on yourself like that. And it's an amazing proof that you've grown as a person, being able to look at yourself and recognize what the problem was with you, kind of.
Absolutely.
So then Vergil learns to accept his human side, meaning he accepts his physical weakness and learns that strength lies in his mind, and also learns that there is no shame in relying on others. Like, he's also been relying on Shadow and Griffon, his demons, and there's no shame in like asking for help. Oh yeah, and at the end, V unites with Urizen again, but his demons, Shadow and Griffon and Nightmare, they stay in the real world and sort of sacrificing themselves as they fight with Dante, because they don't want to return to Vergil. So they sacrificing themselves to free Vergil from the nightmares. So only V returned.
This is our final flight, and the end of Vergil's nightmare.
And then Vergil regains all of V's memories, and V becomes part of him essentially, and there's a proof for that when Vergil thanks Nero.
Thank you, Nero.
And then he leaves. And he thanks him for carrying him back to Urizen when he asks for him. So all that we did and all the things that happened to him are now continues to live on inside Vergil, and he remembers all these experiences.
It's very poetic. It's very lovely.
Yeah. So he learned to give up power and to value humanity. But Virgin back with V doesn't change his Virgil's personality too much. Like he would still never dance, for example, which is one funny thing because every character has a taunt, you know, when you taunt the enemies, and one of these extra taunts are they dancing and there is music goes, except Virgil, but he still has a dancing taunt because now he can. Now he
Oh,
can.
really?
He can no. He can summon his doppelganger, which is a spirit form of his devil form, which is also something I wanted to talk about. That when he summons his doppelganger, he's like putting his hand on his forehead and then pushes it aside, and then the doppelganger is being summoned, and that's why that's shows that he's like summoning it out of his mind, like splitting his soul kind of and mind, and it's his doppelganger that starts dancing around him. And he's like looking at him in shame, like, "Oh, stop it! It's so disappointing, so embarrassing." And his doppelganger starts dancing around him, and it's so funny. And when Virgil he reborns, you can see his coat is turns into the darkest shade of blue. It's almost black. But it's been like that ever since he was on the street in the beginning. So it's not because he was reborn. His coat became like that after the time he was as Nilo Angelo. So it could be kind of tainted by his time as Nilo Angelo, the Black Angel.
Yeah.
But it could also be a reference to V. And then you also have a EX color, extra colored outfits. Like, remember when I was talking about the meaning of colors, like red being physical strength?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also have the meaning of black and white. Black being the darkness and referring to the demon world, and white is the light, the humanity. But
Yep.
and every character in the MC5 has a alternative costume color you can buy and equip. And for Nero it's white, for Dante it's black because he's very demonic. For Virgil it's his original blue color, and for V it's green. And I was thinking about, why is it green, his coat? And
Yeah.
and that's I believe it symbolizes life and nature. Like green is can be interpreted as the color of nature. So he's like sort of as he's embracing his animalistic side and nature. I mean, sort of reconnecting with nature, kind of. But it could also be the color of a fighting spirit, as I saw in the MC3.
Oh, Lisa, sorry, I have to go, but I just wanted to say, like, all this
Okay.
is very, 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 very clearly well researched and very perceptive. And if you decide to put
No,
this
I
in a
think-
video, I think it would work out quite well. You know, if you wanted to do a character analysis of Virgil and how it works like all this stuff works symbolically, it would be really, really good. But yeah, I gotta go.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Have a nice day. Thank you.